Welcome back to Comic Book Nation, the only show that does it all for geek culture and the official podcast of comicbook.com. I am your host, Kofi Outlaw, and Janelle Wheeler's here with me. And before we do anything, any loyal listener of this podcast, we got to do some housekeeping in here. Matt's back. Matt
is back.
You heard us get kind of dramatic and worried last week. Well, typical classic Matt. Matt was not having any emergency. Matt wasn't dying. Matt was at GenCon. So Matt was playing games at GenCon. He had just, like any husband, forgotten to remind us of this.
I did remind you.
No, you didn't. You said a bunch of scary things.
It's in
We're gonna get to this whole story.
A week before.
Yes, a week before. But then you said a whole bunch of scary stuff to me and then just disappeared on a Friday. And then I was like, whoa. So the full story that Matt's trying to allude to is Matt is, congratulations, about to have his second child. Him and his wife are going in tomorrow on my birthday to have their child, to have their second child on my birthday. But, that's fine. That's whatever. But so Matt had said this to me last week. So he came in and was like, yo, there's this stuff going on. We're going to have this baby early. We're scrambling. And then he just disappeared on Friday. So, whatever was about GenCon, he didn't say, I have to have this baby and I got to do this GenCon on Friday. He was going on about the baby. And then, that took over everything in my mind. I was just like, oh, my God, Matt's in it. He's like, I was having maybe a little PTSD from my second child birth, which was crazy. But, he just, says all this and then he's just not here on Friday. So naturally, my mind starts leaping to, oh my God, something happened to his wife and niece. Something's going on with this baby. It's a fight. They're in the pit right now. I'm going off and flipping out. I'm messaging our manager, our boss, Ben. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe what you do. I sent Matt this heartfelt message, some deep, hey buddy, we've been friends. I hope you're okay wherever you are. I'm supporting you. You got my prayers. He's like, I'm at Gen Con. I was just like,
no, that's not what I said. I said, oh man, that's so nice. Thinking he's referring to the stuff we had talked about before. So I was like, oh, that's so nice. Whatever. Not thinking he's thinking there's an emergency right now, right? So then I go and watch the show back because I'm like, oh, I gotta watch the show. I didn't get to tune in. And then I see oh man, we hope he's okay. And I was like, wait. And so then I go through and I'm having this whole retroactive. And it's at midnight. And I'm I sent him a message and I'm like, hey, you knew I was at Gen Con, right? And he's like, oh.
Yeah, this is mind you, he didn't respond. So we texted him Friday. This dude, I'm trying so hard not to curse right now. He does not respond till Saturday. And then Saturday's like, yeah, I was at Gen Con, right? And I was true. We have a memorial outside for you. We're burning stage and doing all this stuff. Yeah. Total Gone Girl vibes over here with this kid.
No, man. I had people coming into my channel asking if you were okay when I was on Twitch. Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, that's how communication levels are at comicbook.com and always have been, and I think always will be. We go from a simple, hey, heads up, reminder I'm doing this event to this person's dead. Let's all celebrate them. Here's a GoFundMe you can click the link to. Yeah, so that's how we're rolling over here.
Getting flowers in the house, and I'm like, what? Who? Why? What's happening?
Yeah, anyway, so Matt's alive, and we are going to get back to doing our normal kind of show. We have a bunch of releases this week. We have a bunch of stuff coming to the small screen. King of the Hill is back. So is Wednesday. We have the highly anticipated new horror film, Weapons, from Zach Cregger. Something that I was very much looking forward to because I have a very strange relationship with this director and his work. And Eyes of Wakanda hit Disney Plus. WWE was making headlines everywhere. South Park, comic books. It's going to be a big geek day. But up first, we all know what's been going on. There's a certain little movie that is starting to make a couple headlines here. Janelle.
Yeah. Well, I'm very excited to say that Spider-Man Brand New Day has had lots of set videos and pictures jumping onto the internet, and people are excited and also annoyed. No, I'm just kidding.
You've described the internet.
This is nerd internet. Obviously, like leaks are not super fun, but there have been a few, including one really important one with a picture of Zendaya. And I mean,
Is that how you say that?
what?
That's a troll.
Zendaya? Zendaya.
I think you gotta check
I
that.
say Zendaya.
I think you gotta check that. I think you should really like do
You
one of
know,
those ChatGPT things.
It's a beautiful name, regardless. But there's some photos of them standing in front of May's gravestone, and it's interesting to read the comments on things like this, because I really, like, when I saw this, I started deep diving and I'm like, oh my gosh, wait, like, is this 100% confirmed? I wonder where this is. And some people are saying that she's just there on set supporting her fiance now, but some people are like, no, she's clearly dressed like MJ, like they're totally in it. A lot of people are saying that it's going to be a moment similar to when Happy saw Peter and didn't know him, but they were like grieving over May or talking over May. They're saying it's going to be something similar to that. Obviously, no confirmation on any of this. None of it is like official released stuff from, Marvel or Disney. This is leak life. So personally, I'm just excited to see that they're out, getting this movie done.
I want to talk about that because we're on like this weird generation of internet fans now who are like freaking out about set photos and things like you don't know the
We're
game.
Like, hello.
I think at this point we got to stop calling these leaks. These aren't leaks. Like, these are all highly coordinated by like second, third generation people I came up with during the blogging days are now like PR people. They know everything. Like James Gunn knows everything. They know how y'all act. They know how y'all work. They know people are going to be stationed out in the buildings. As soon as they know they're going to step outside to film any exterior scene, they know people are going to be snapping photos of that Marvel movie. They know people track every one of their movements, the actors' movements. Nobody's naive in this. That's why we got that promotional video of Tom Holland in the new suit. They did it official. That's why we're getting like Doomsday cast names and stuff like that, because people are looking at these people. If all of these people started showing up in London and Marvel hadn't said anything, all of us would have gotten great content out of it. Been like, is the Doomsday cast gathering in London? We would have had 1,000 different like set photos and connect the dot things and stuff. So they're doing this all like, this is now all purposeful. They know the game. They're self-aware. Everything they're shooting outside, they know we're going to see. And I think they're being very careful with what they're choosing to show us versus what they're not. It's not like we're seeing new villains and new people running around on these sets yet. Like, we've seen a battle scene with practical effects, but, no fill-in on who's fighting who. Well, we've seen all characters we know.
And Hulk.
Yeah, but we knew they were going to be in the movie. Like, they started announcing these things. Like, if you go back over the news cycle.
Though.
Oh, yeah. But if you go over the news cycle, it's all announcements. Like, they had Michael Mando. It's not like hiding it. He's like, yeah, I'm back. I'm Scorpion. Like, they're now kind of, and I think that's important.
Yeah.
Like, I think Marvel needs to come away. I've held this thing and none of y'all will listen till it's too late as usual. But I was there in 99. That had a transformative effect on me as a fan and what fandom was, and gave me my first ideas of doing something like a fan site and whatnot. Oh, Rich on production. He's got the Spider-Man video.
Woo-hoo!
We see him swinging. Woo! Look at this. Love this. We got a real show in here. He's got the set videos. So this is why you have to watch the live show too, guys. You can't just be listening on audio. We got interactive video segments and stuff. But you can see, it looks fun. But this is all hyping things up. It's all promotional. They know the effect this is going to have. This is making us excited to see a Spider-Man movie because there's practical swinging and explosions and all that. And that rig is really smart. I don't know how they just didn't do this the whole time. Like, that's crazy. Just have free swing Spider-Man and just film the backgrounds. That's that old school Hollywood stuff, right? When they're in the cars and they had a movie screen behind them.
Yeah.
Like all that. Yeah. Come on. I don't know. People are asking in the chat, why did Marvel leave filming in Georgia? I don't know. Taxes. Who knows what's changing? I don't know if you guys have noticed, but a lot of stuff has changed. So it could be a lot of incentives, taxes, stuff like that.
No, I didn't know that.
Business side. Well, I think they're just they're just in the UK now because that's what they need for this particular set. Marvel has 2 main locations, one in Georgia and one in, what is it called? The Sound or whatever they call it.
It's got a special name, but I
hate that place, so I don't really like it because everything that comes out of there is just kind of like a baloney sheet.
It is interesting to see because Jay Jones brought it up in the chat of like, I've seen a lot of discourse over web swinging from these videos and things, and we're starting to see like the comparisons, like side by sides of. I do feel like there's a little bit of a developing thing, which kind of, No Way Home kind of opened the door on that. But like, we are starting to see like comparisons now of like Tom Holland's Spider-Man. We have like multiple movies now to go off of. And then, but here's how Sam Raimi's looked. Here's how Mark Webb's looked.
TikTokers. It's because it's the TikTokers. This is anything side by side is TikTokers.
Yeah.
So that's why we're doing this now. Like, and it started a whole trend. Have we ever had a better glow up, or have we ever had a worse fall off for everything? That was the whole Superman thing, right? Like that just made me want to jump out the window. Have we ever had a worse fall off in side by sides of like two Supermen doing whatever respective thing they were doing? But that didn't work. I mean, Corn Sweat Superman's here, baby. So all right, but yeah, that's that, and that's crazy. That's kids. All right, I had to just message some kid on the internet. Shout out to you if you hear this, like, because you were wearing an Eagles jersey while you were just going off about some crazy take he had, and it was something like people are now like, we had the whole Soups thing this week, right? Like him talking about how Holland and the Homecoming is like the worst Spider-Man and Holland's the worst, and that went viral.
Wait, what? Who did that?
I'm not going to mention his name twice. This is not a free promotional platform.
God.
Okay, to be fair though, there have been some really I'll say bad. There's been some really bad takes in all of the various realms, right? There was that now what has become like a full feud. It feels like that Jim Jones take of like Nas, like he's like better than Nas and all that. And like I think what we're seeing though is what Kofi's referred to as like kind of the clash of generations here, and it's going across all different mediums, right? It can be hip hop, it can be nerddom, whatever. And we are seeing some of that clash. Some of it is like simply age of people not growing up with certain things and then
discovering them.
Like it's
hilarious.
It's
Gen Z thinks they discover things, but yeah, I'm not going to get into my old man box too much. I've had a lot of conversations because of the nature of our business. I still have to rub elbows with youth culture and kind of keep my finger on that pulse, and it's funny. I mean, I feel bad for these kids. They're starting to realize that Xennials are the peak. We are peak. They are leak. So yeah, so we're not going to beat up on the kids, but we're going to hear takes, and we were the same way, right?
Yep.
The whole basis of youth is you hear what the older people say, and then you say the opposite.
I always liked my elders. I don't know. I'm weird, I guess.
Yeah, but if you take all of our takes on, especially video games, growing up, and you compare them to what the adults were
there's
saying
liking your elders, but when your elders weren't looking, were you acting the way your elders wanted you to?
I think mine were just really cool.
My mom was super cool too, as far as like video games and all that.
Yeah,
but like the broader culture was not. I remember being looked down quite a bit, and in those conversations of especially like tabletop games, D&D, especially video games. If you looked at broader culture, my mom was an outlier. And it was a lot of like, that's trash, poison your mind. There was a lot of like that junk out there. And like, again, it's a different generation coming to terms with what the newer generation is fine with. And now 2 generations later, the kids are perfectly fine with the stuff we grew up with because they grew up with it. Like I feel like there is some of that here and just not people not being around the things. I don't know. It's weird. Also, am I officially an Xennial? Is that what I am?
Yeah, it's like when you're on the cusp of being a Gen X and a millennial. Basically, you didn't grow up with a cell phone because a lot of millennials did have.
It's like 81 to 85.
Yeah,
gotcha.
A lot of millennials. If you had Facebook when you're a kid, I think you're a straight up millennial. If you didn't have Facebook till you were in college, at least, then
Yeah, you're
Like,
an
that was
exennial.
a big game changer shift when
If you were in college or grad school when you started getting on Facebook, if you got on Facebook because of college or grad school or whatever
Right.
the case
Okay.
system,
That was
you're
me.
an exennial.
I was on
Yeah.
AIM before
Hmm.
that. So.
Yeah, exactly. Same. Yeah, we were all spitting game over AIM, baby. Like, see, now I don't know. See, now I was about to move on and just say I'm the
Whole
only one who
episode on
feels now
this?
weird. No, that feels weird that I'm hosting a nerd podcast because you two just sounded super nerdy. You were like, I love my parents and I was always good. And then you two were like, yeah, we were getting freaky on AIM too. So, like, I don't know what to think anymore. So we're just going to move on. So, on the
Okay,
DC
well,
side.
yeah,
on the
let's
DC
get
side,
excited about DC. You guys, first of all, Superman has done incredible things. And I think
somebody said sidekicks. Stop it.
Dude, I still want one.
I
Dwayne
had a
Wade
Sky-
sold me on a
Sky
sidekick.
Hey man, that was for the low hustlers. I had a SkyTel pager, baby.
That
I was
flip
getting full
phone.
text messages. Yeah,
I was a pager person for way too long.
No
I didn't
one
get a cell
has-
phone until I was like in
Don't
college.
you dare page me 911, fool.
No
This is
one
not a
has
game.
made a
143,
slide
143.
effect as cool as the sidekick to date.
I didn't have
Give
one of
me your
those. You
flip,
guys
your
are cooler than me.
flippable screens, your foldable screens. I want the click. I want the slide. That is so slick. It's so slick, man.
Flip it back up. Yeah.
The Dreamcast, the phone.
I remember when the girls in the low cut jeans and the tramp stamps with the razors came out. Woof,
Razors.
woof. You had to clear the streets.
Yes,
Though,
they
yeah, you
have.
know what I'm talking about earlier.
The tramp stamp
yeah.
doesn't go away with age; it stays.
Oh yeah. But that's how I know which one in the old Jimmy Buffett party I'm gonna talk to. I'm like,
Oh my
you were fun
God.
back in the day. My knees hurt too now, but you were fun back in the day. Let's have a drink. Let's take a shot. You know, that's what you do at 40. Anyway, I don't know
Excited.
how we got here. Let's talk about
Sorry.
Superman and
Yeah,
DC.
James
Yeah.
Gunn. Basically, we're just gearing up to see what they have in store. Superman has done so well, and what is next? We are wondering. Well, he has kept a tight lip on his next projects, like what he's going to be doing, especially with like the Superman stuff. And then there was a call, and a bombshell was dropped, and it was David Zaslav. See, what if I say everything wrong, Kofi? I'm gonna get just.
I think
in
that's
so
right.
much-
I think you
Oh,
got it.
I think you just worry about this too much. I think
Yeah,
you
you got
yourself like, yeah, I think it's that the man. Listen, we don't love this man enough to like, really care. So just say whatever say it however you want to say.
He let it slip that Gunn will be directing the next movie in the Super family, and I quote: "So we know that he is fully in this and planning on Super family stuff, that's very exciting. I mean, I'm happy with what we've gotten so far from him. I would love a follow-up quickly. I know that they're not rushing to throw a bunch of new characters. They do want to build up a lot of these characters first so that we are familiar and we love them. And I'm excited about that, and I hope that we just keep pushing forward. Obviously, we're going to be seeing Supergirl, and that's going to be exciting. And honestly, I'm so confident in the DC now that, remember when we were like, DC's going to have a moment. Like, I believe it. Like, we're gearing that.
We were 2
We were
years
3.
early.
We 3 years. It's
3 years
2022. We
early.
were 3 years. We were 3 years
But-
early, but
But it happened, right? Like, we
We
eventually
believed.
got
We
there.
used a picture of Batgirl in
Talk about
I-
manifestation.
that header. I've just put. That's how far back that went.
Yeah, I mean that's
my
interesting
God.
because I think a lot of us were betting on like a world's finest type deal with Batman.
Mm.
But there's more interesting. We've seen, I think we are, of all these kind of quote unquote nerd shows out here, like I think we're the only ones who really have dug deep into like what has happened with Superman over the last 5 years, especially on the comic book page, and what people like Joshua Williamson has done over at DC to really transform that character and his world into something that stands equal to the Batman universe and the Bat family and all that. Like now Superman and Lois have like a whole squad. They've adopted children. There's Superman from other nation. Anybody who's been like a failed Superman clone, they've been like, come on in here. Like, we got you. Steel's in there. Like, everybody's in there. There's a whole Superman squad, right? And those adventures are pretty cool. Like, we read those comics and we're like, Action Comics. If you haven't picked up Action Comics in the last, go grab some trades. it shows you Joshua Williamson and the other writers and artists who were doing this, like they show you that, like, yeah, Superman having a larger ensemble around him is just as interesting as Batman dealing with all these other Catwoman and Robins and all that stuff. And him being in Metropolis and having these different things these other people also do. They run companies, they do this, and like them, and just like their drama of trying to help Superman constantly. Like, how do we support this guy? Like, because Superman gets in over his head. Lois has to come up with a plan. Steel has to design some Iron Man-ish. You know, like there's different things. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
So if you've done right on the screen, like there's infinite amount of spinoffs, and that's the game you want to play. Like, yeah, give us a good family dynamic, Superman family, like where you've left this character, especially now. Like everything can be interesting no matter how you approach. If you don't want to touch him being a dad, because Superman and Lois just did that whole thing. Yeah, found family. Like this guy just realized like his biological family sucks. His adoptive family he's embracing. If he builds a found family around himself, like that's kind of a cool thing. There's because we've already established that people are trying to clone Superman or are cloning Superman and doing all kinds of experiments and stuff. So yeah.
It'd be cool if they did like a twist on like the War World thing where like, you know, he essentially like they adopt two kids into the family because it starts out like them needing to protect them. And then, you know, they're kind of refugees and then they just become part of the family. And it's a really cool way to like not have to go Jonathan right away. Right. If you do want to give some distance or just, you know, not, I mean, that's a whole series of movies in it of itself, right? So I get not wanting to maybe go there right away. But like if you touch on that, it's crazy that at one point in time, and we used to talk about it on the podcast a lot, where like the only thing cooking, and I use that term because I just for my buddy Kofi, because I know he loves that word. I'm trying to dip into some slang. There was a time when it was just Batman in the comics that felt like, oh, it's this cohesive universe and like so many things are happening, and like Wonder Woman was over here and Superman was over here, and like those just for whatever. And then Williamson, Philip Kennedy Johnson, now we have Dan Slott in the mix with Superman Unlimited. There's 3 continuing books right now in Superman, and that's not even including Supergirl, which is also great but completely different, happening, and they're all really interesting in different ways. And I just like for that to happen and us to have a question in the comments of when is Batman happening is nuts to me in the best way. I think it was needed too. Like it was Batman overload for a minute because that was the only thing that was working, and now it's nice to be on the other side of that.
Okay, there you go. And there you have it, folks. We can move on from the news and let's get into our first review of the day, Eyes of Wakanda. So I didn't know this was coming. I didn't care that this was coming. And then it came. And I was pleasantly surprised. I have 2 to finish. I have the middle 2 to kind of finish of the 4. I watched the first one and I watched the last one because both were just kind of, the first one was got me into it, obviously. And then the last one was kind of highly relevant to MCU lore, so I kind of watched that so we could break it down. But I was pleasantly surprised by this. Like, this is not a thing that most people necessarily like hold on to, but these were great stories. It kind of really fleshed out the world of Wakanda and like what Wakanda is, how they've been influential throughout history. I think that's, I mean, not to pull us into real life at all, but like, especially in these times, like showing heroic Black characters, like influencing history and not just in the modern day, but like saying, you know, Africa's in a fictional way, saying Africa's been here all throughout history. Africa has influenced and been present in all these things from the Trojan War to the, you know, all these other things, which is also real history. You know, we don't typically teach it, but like, yeah, Africa was involved in all of these world conflicts and things and has had history, math, like all these things that the world has also shared. And I think this was a cool way to do that in a very superhero way. Like we meet other cool Wakandans, whether they're like Dora Milaje, war dogs, princes, like we meet these other kind of characters. So I was actually kind of pleasantly surprised by this. And the last one, what they do with a single object, this is like Coogler and them kind of understand why we used to love the MCU. Like, they take one small part of Black Panther, a single, that axe that Killmonger steals, and then make it so much more significant so that by the time you don't need to see this, it doesn't change, you know? You can just keep watching Black Panther all you want. But if you do watch this and then you go back and you watch the beginning of Black Panther in that first opening scene, like, it's so much more, like, makes your skin kind of goosebumps because it's like history coming back around, destiny. There's all these deeper things to it. So, yeah, I was just like, it was surprising. So I'm going to watch that Greek Troy episode because I heard that's lit too. And yeah, I enjoyed this. You guys?
Yeah, I love this. I can't believe it's another animated thing that I just like definitely did not expect to really care much about. But gosh, I love backstory and lore and more information. I just love it. I love that it lays out kind of the beginnings, or not even the beginnings, just a whole different era and time, you know, in Wakanda and outside of Wakanda, obviously, and how it affects the world. And the fact that they were so like already evolved in their technology and stuff, it's just so cool. Like in this time, it's such a cool thing to see. I'm only on episode 3. I think I just started 3, but I'm of course going to finish out. I'm going to watch the whole thing. I like that they didn't make this too long. It wasn't a ton of episodes. I like that they dropped them together. And yeah, I think it's just very successful, a very successful project and beautiful. The animation is so unique and stylized and gorgeous and really impactful for sure.
Yeah, I think 4 was the perfect spot for this.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have wanted, 8 or whatever. Now, what I would like to see them do is like later on bring this same kind of format style back, do another 4 episodes of like a story you have to tell, you want to tell.
Well, they kind of set it up.
Cool.
I mean,
Right,
there's places
exactly.
we can go. We can go into the future. There's a lot of places to go with this. So,
but that that pocket is good. Like I felt like it doesn't overstay its welcome. And here's the thing, I saw promotion for this a lot. Like because I'm going on
Disney
sites
Plus,
that deal with geek culture and
Yeah.
Disney stuff and all that. So like I was seeing trailers constantly for it, but I also just think there's just so much content out right now that it was always going to be hard for it to kind of stand out. But what helped was the animation style. The animation style is what grabbed me right away. I'm a big sucker for animation in general, but like this is a very cool look. It's unique. It fits the world. The action sequences I thought really shined here, and the effects that they did really pop off the screen. So like they chose a really cool look, and also I do like that they are treating it. We're not in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. space anymore, where it's like, is it not connected? Kinda, sorta. Like this, they were like, no, this is firmly at the beginning. This is now the beginning of the timeline. We are treating this as if it's canon. Like this is where we go from here. That always removes kind of that ambiguity for me in these projects and feels like it makes it matter a little bit more. Because I mean, obviously the MCU is important, right? So I dug this. I thought this was super cool. I'd like to see them return to that and do different stories, but do it in the same format. It's super cool.
Yeah, I think all I'm going to say is I think Marvel really needs to learn how to cost benefit these things. Like we want more special presentations.
Yeah.
We want more limited anthology series like this. Like I'll take Marvel Zombies if it's a hardcore zombie thing for like 4 episodes. That's awesome. Give me 4 really great episodes of a cohesive project right now. That's what we need. We need cohesive vision experiences, even if they're not for everybody. Short, not over budgeted, not overestimated, not over length. Just get some solid wins in front of us. And this was one of them, and unexpected. So that was nice. I can talk quickly about Alien Earth and just give you guys my early impressions. Of course, we will be talking about this show week to week. But as usual, I'm going to keep it real and just kind of tell you, I got to see all 8 episodes. So I've gotten to see all of Alien Earth. My review is up on comicbook.com. But I was pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed this. It's been a good week for me. I got to see Alien Earth. I got to see weapons. It's been just horror. And I'm saying, oh my God, that didn't sound right. But it's been a lot of horror, and I've been pleasantly surprised by how solid it all was. So Alien Earth is the new TV series. It's coming to FX Hulu. It's from Noah Hawley, who did Fargo and Legion. And this show, it's a very good horror show. It very much feels like it is immersing you in an alien movie. But Noah Hawley clearly saw the title of this franchise called Alien and was like, I'm kind of like disappointed we only do this one thing with this one creature. If you're going to call it Alien, it sounds like you could get like a bunch of creepy stuff. And that's what he does. This show is very much, it's about the future. It's about the mega corporations, including Weyland-Yutani, who has a ship full of biosamples, including xenomorphs, but also this eye creature you see, who is a real kind of breakout star of this show, the eye parasite, and some other versions of parasitic aliens they've been out in space for decades gathering and are bringing back to develop into bioweapons. But the ship crashes into the building of one of the rival corporations, Prodigy, which is owned by a little Zucker tech bro, crazy man, who is developing post-human androids. And he has these new androids that are kids who were dying of terminally ill diseases. He puts their consciousness in android bodies. And their first mission is get into this building and retrieve these samples for his corporation before Weyland-Yutani gets in with their own forces and gets it for theirs. So straightforward premise. But like I said, it's Noah Hawley. So things go left on unexpected developments happen. And it's weird, like Fargo, they have those montages with music, the spiraling cameras, the kind of quiet scenes where characters are sitting around and thinking, and it's very much just camera and acting. But it's also an awesome alien movie and expands the franchise. There's more concepts about androids, cyborgs, hybrids, what all those mean, like what do those things want, each of those species. There's, like I said, there's more creatures in this. That little eye tentacle parasite is like its own star. You get entire scenes from the different creatures' point of view and stuff. Like the show is wild. It's weird. It's creepy. And it's kind of sci-fi, thought-provoking. So we're going to be talking about it, and I'm excited. And strap in, you guys, my mild horror fan co-host fans, because week to week we're going to be seeing some pretty crazy stuff. The main character, played by Sydney Chandler, Kyle Chandler's daughter, she's a star. This is a very breakout role for her. She nails this down like really well, playing a little girl in an adult robot's body. And having to, but also with a supercomputer for a brain and beginning to evolve faster than people think in all of that. Timothy Oliphant's so awesome in this, playing like an earlier model synth who's her mentor and you never can quite tell because he's so idiosyncratic and cool. And then there's another guy who plays a cyborg who's also like a star of the show, and it's awesome. So good job, FX. Good job, Hulu. They've spent money. These sets, the pieces, the sequences, like I said, it feels like an alien movie, and you'll see that in the 2-episode premiere, which we will be reviewing in full. Spoilers next week. All right, so that's Alien Earth. We also got a promo, our bonus episode. If you haven't checked the audio feed right now, we have a bonus episode out with Superman visual effects supervisor Guy Williams, who was who led the team over at Weta for some key sequences in James Gunn's Superman movie. And me and Matt, I said, yo, I'll give you, like, we can hash out like a 15 or 20. We ended up talking like 40 to 45. So we were going to put the interview as a part of this show, but it got so long and we got so geeky with Guy. He was a great interview. Yeah, he was awesome. It was fantastic to talk to him. Go download that bonus episode and listen to the behind the scenes of what James Gunn and them did to make Superman. But we had to pull one part of it for you because he gave us one answer that was so funny and just so weird that I was like, we got to share this with the rest of the show. So we were talking about one sequence he worked on was the River Pie sequence. If you haven't seen Superman, spoilers, it's been a while. It's been like almost a month. But there's a thing where Superman goes to this pocket dimension. Lex Luthor's keeping people prisoner in. and he has to save Metamorpho's child to help convince Metamorpho to get him out of there and stop using kryptonite on him and all this stuff. So Superman fights a bunch of Lex Luthor's soldiers holding this baby with Metamorpho, and he falls into a river that is a pixelated, like full of like equations and all this cosmic theory stuff. And it was called the River Pie. And we asked Guy Williams, like, after he was talking about how crazy it was to film that, I had to ask him, well, what was it that you guys actually used to film this? Because I know like what Avatar does and stuff, like especially The Way of Water, they do all this crazy stuff. So I was like, well, what did you do to kind of see this? And here's the answer he gave us that had me and Matt kind of just laughing. So if we can play that clip. I have a question about working with a character like Superman, but you also made me think of a follow-up question about the River Pie, which is, what was David Corn's sweat actually in? Like, how did they simulate that, the effect of the river? Was he in like
the River Pie
bit? Yeah.
While we were shooting the Pocket Universe, the SFX and stunts teams were trying to figure out a good solution for capturing live action plates of David and the Raptors in their armor fighting. It was tricky. We tried. They had a water pool that they filled and then put a sheet over the top of it so that you could be in it but not get wet. It just provided too much resistance. They tried a standard ball pit, but the balls just made so much noise and they got crushed so much, and it just became troublesome. But then they found it wasn't a problem with the ball pit; it was a problem with the ball. So they found the right kind of ball to use, because they also the live action is shot lit from below, so the light has to come through the ball pit so that it feels like the river's glowing. And they settled on these little plastic balls that were probably about an inch, just over an inch across. And it turns out they're the balls that are used in deodorant roll-on. So they worked with the manufacturer of the roll-on products and bought, I wish I knew the exact number, it's like 700,000 of these balls, and then filled this incredibly large ball pit with them. And it worked to a treat. It was stiff enough that if you laid in it, you didn't sink too fast. But if you started to stand up straight, you started to sink again. So it had the right resistance. It had the right interactability. And then it was just a bunch of wire work, pulling the actors along so it felt like they were flowing through the river. It was fun to shoot. We're all, between every take, I would just lean over and just chuck a couple of balls back into the pit because, of course, they're getting knocked out of the pit all the time.
Fantastic.
First of all, that just tripped me out so bad watching two versions of you and me like moving on the screen. Like I kept seeing, and I kept forgetting which one was the real you. And I was like, oh,
I was going to troll myself. I was going to say something on my nose, but I didn't.
Oh man. But anyway, yeah, deodorant, man. That's how we got Superman. They had to get through that deodorant.
I want video now. At Jay Jones is right. Like,
yeah.
I want video of that. I want to see.
Yeah,
that.
I want to see that too, because that sounds crazy, right? Like that sounds so crazy. I wanna see that. But yeah, go download the rest of that interview. We went deep with Guy Williams. I mean, we talk about everything about how Weta's technicians were arguing about like Superman physics and getting nerdy about like what happens when Superman gets hit by fire, like all that stuff. It's a great conversation. So. Thanks, Matt, for hopping on. I wouldn't have been able to do that with you. And you know, your boy Matt got in some crypto talk. So also check that out.
I had Toys made a guest appearance.
Oh yeah. They loved us by the end because Matt had because Guy worked on the kaiju scene. So every time he started going deep into kaiju, like talking about that scene, Matt would sneak this toy up. And Guy Williams didn't notice for the entire interview, but the publicists were like cracking up. And at the end, he was like, "Oh, I got to watch this back." Yeah, because so we have a kaiju in the
kaiju
interview.
made an appearance.
Anyway, that's a good enough time to give you guys a break from us. We'll be right back. When we come back, we're going to have a special guest join, and we're going to talk about weapons. Zach Cregger's big new movie. Oh, yeah. Oh, did we skip Wednesday? Yeah, we got to talk about Wednesday too, so we'll do that. We skipped over that. But we'll talk Wednesday, weapons, whatever, when we get back. Joining us here, we haven't seen him in a minute, but one of our most regular guest hosts, Mr. Evan Valentine, is here.
Hey everybody, how you doing?
I mean, this is good a time as any. I guess I can spring it on everybody and say, you know, we got the approvals in, and Evan's going to be helping us out in subsequent weeks while Matt is doing his daddy thing. Matt will still be here, but we want him to be, because I've been in this situation with the two kids. Evan, I believe you have several kids, don't you?
No.
Oh, no.
I have no idea.
I am confusing you with Mark. I am so sorry. I'm confusing you with Mark. It is Mark. I'm swapping you with Mark.
Me.
He's like, not that I know of.
Oh, I'm just kidding. That girl, look, the girl in the bar, she was lying, man. I agree. She must have been lying, right? Yeah. No traveling comedian could ever have kids anywhere. That's not possible. Anyway, so Evan's joining us here, but my point was, Matt, I know how it is, so we want to give Matt total freedom to be able to hop in here when he wants to escape, but I'd be able to hop out when there's baby feeding time. So Evan's going to hop in and help us while Matt is on paternity leave. So it's as good a time as any if you haven't met him before to meet him now. He is a jack of all trades here on comicbook.com. He is heavy in our anime section, but he's also very much a horror fan and a general movie and TV fan. So he saw Weapons as well, and he's going to help me talk about this. So if you haven't listened to this podcast before, just to kind of set the scene, back in, I think it was Comic-Con 2022, 2023, I forget which, our old boss, Jim Viscardi, snaked me in his Jim way. We were supposed to go to this big party, but he made me take this assignment and go all the way out into the darkness of San Diego to see this movie by a director I had not heard of named Zach Cregger that nobody knew about. It was called Barbarian. I was one of the first to see it, and I had to interview Justin Long the next day at Comic-Con for us. So I had to go see this. So I was pissed. I went out there, got myself a beer, sat in this thing. This was a night screening. It was like 10 o'clock at night. So I sit down and I watched this movie. And yeah, by now you all know what it is to watch Barbarian, especially if you went in totally uninformed about anything about this movie. And you know how crazy it was. And by the end, by the last shot of that movie, it went off and we were all sitting there. Zach Cregger and Justin Long came out. It was like a little Q&A. And I was like, and I got to interview them throughout that press run and talk to them. And I was like, this dude's going to be another crazy. He's going to be crazy in horror. Like I could feel it back then. So cut to now. And naturally after that experience, I'm total opposite experience now. They had no screenings in Nashville because we were having some weird thing here. So I went out last night and saw Weapons as just a civilian on my own. And I know it's my job to come in here and be like all entertaining for you guys and be like, here's a breakdown on a movie and blah, 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 blah. But as I texted a friend of mine who's a horror buff herself last night, I was like, I have no idea how to feel about like this movie right now. Like I'm going to have to get back to you. And I've just been like all night thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it. And somebody just pitched me an article over here and I was just like, and it's about Weapons. And I was like, man, like, that's crazy because that's so correct. And I didn't even think about this part of the movie, but that's correct. And yeah, it's just, there's a lot of layers to it. It's very unexpected. I think the first time you watch it is just like a warm up. I really do. And I know that sounds like a cop out, but in this case, if it's hard to explain without you seeing the movie, but the first time you see this movie is very much just a warm up. I think I have to watch it again this time and knowing everything and kind of like see what movie is really there. But what's unexpected about it is I was not expecting because I go in unprepared. And based on the trailers, I was not expecting a Rashomon story for a horror movie, which if you're not familiar with film, it's a Kurosawa. It's one of the most famous films out there, Rashomon. It's a story about a wife and a husband and a woodcutter. And an incident that happens, a crime that happens, and then you get each person's version of the story. And with each version, you get another layer of what's really going on. Like at first, it looks like a husband and wife are, assaulted by a woodcutter. Then you begin to learn there was things going on with the woodcutter and maybe the wife. Then you learn there were things going on with the husband. Then it's like, and by the end, it's like this whole stinky onion of betrayals and lies, and the context is much different. And this movie kind of plays with that same thing. I would call it this year's Long Legs, if that's a good comparison, in terms of kind of taking you down one path and then throwing you into something else all of a sudden. And yeah, but it is beautifully shot. It is gorgeous. The performances are all really good. This is Julia Garner, Josh Brolin, the still criminally underrated Alden Ehrenreich or the Han Solo actor, dude. Like, criminally underrated actor. That guy deserves way more flowers than he gets. And even some performances from younger and older actors that are just spectacular. But yeah, man, Evan, help me out because I feel like I'm floundering, but I feel like you'll be more confident. But I'm still just like it's all together in my head.
I mean, I totally get where you're coming from. The trickiest thing about this movie for me, because I saw it on Tuesday, Atlanta isn't dealing with the problems that Tennessee is currently dealing with in terms of previews and stuff like that. But one of the biggest problems of this is that one of the biggest appeals of Weapons is that you want to go in as blind as humanly possible. In recommending this movie, it's almost impossible to like talk about anything from it because I am literally like before I came on the show, I was thinking of the best ways to kind of talk about the different elements that work. I think that Kofi, you made a great comparison between this and Long Legs, because Long Legs is a movie wherein it's not as mysterious in terms of where it goes with its story and everything. Weapons is very much, it gives you its premise. A classroom full of kids -1 have all run out of their homes at 2:17 a.m. the night before, and you're just kind of looking at what happens to this small town across the board as more and more pieces of this mystery are kind of revealed to you. I think that for me personally, when it comes to this movie, before going into it, my rankings for my top movies of the year were Sinners is number 1. I think that Sinners is still my favorite movie of the year. Superman was number 2, and that was very much like, I love Superman. I totally think that all of the foibles that people have with that movie, I can understand, but I don't see any of them because I'm a giant Superman fan and that movie did everything I wanted to. But now, after seeing Weapons is my number 2. I think I liked Weapons more than Superman, which is really crazy because I did not see that coming. It is an amazing script, the way that they put it all together. I think that Kofi, you made a great point with Rashomon. I actually thought the way that I kind of looked at it was that it was kind of like a Pulp Fiction-esque story mixed with spoiler. And I cannot talk about what that spoiler is. I'll DM you, Kofi, on it later in terms of where I think like the other movie that this kind of goes back and forth with. But I also wanted to talk about Zach Cregger in general, the guy who directed Barbarian. He is also going to direct the next Resident Evil movie, which is I can't wait, because to me there's never been a good Resident Evil movie, and I'm a giant fan of that franchise, and I think he's going to kind of take it back to like its B movie roots. I have no idea.
Ears perked.
What's that?
Oh boy, you got my ears perked. Oh boy.
Dude. Oh yeah. I would strongly recommend, like, for Matt and Janelle, I would strongly recommend, like, this movie is very much, it has horror elements to it, but it has like, the character work is so strong and the dialogue is so strong, and the story itself, the way that it kind of like, there are scary moments in this. But I will also say, and again, I am dodging spoilers like nobody's business, Weapons has an ending that is in my top 5 endings of all time. I think that it is one of the most cathartic endings I've ever seen. I was laughing and clapping for like a solid 2 minutes for the ending of this movie. It is that good. And like, in the future, I would love to just talk about, like, once everybody has had the chance to see this, I would love to talk about like spoilers and all that stuff, because it's such a good experience. But really, there is it's so tough to talk about it without going into anything, but it would really do people a disservice if you were to learn what the movie was about before seeing it. But I would recommend everyone go see this in a theater. See it in a packed theater with as many people as humanly possible. The community experience of this, it just works so well. Like, I saw it at a press screening, and normally when it comes to press screenings in general, like, it's very muted. People don't really react as much, and everybody was hooting and hollering, clapping, laughing, just like screaming at parts. There is one horrific scene that takes place over the course of like a minute and a half where it just freezes on a character and kind of pans back, that I just loved. That was so good and so well done. But yeah, cannot recommend this movie enough. I think that everybody should go see it, whether you're a horror movie fan or not. Just cover your eyes during the scary parts, because surprisingly, like, a lot with this is very reminiscent of, because Zach Cregger was part of a sketch comedy troupe that was called The Whitest Kids You Know, much like Jordan Peele was part of course, Key and Peele. And I think that the fact that he has such a strong background in comedy really works well in terms of putting this movie together. The comedy parts, it's really weird to say that this is simultaneously one of the best horror movies and one of the best comedies of the year, but it is somehow. So, like, yeah, cannot recommend this enough. I can't wait for people to see this movie just so I can talk about it with them, because it's so difficult to not be able to talk about this, like, with people who haven't seen it.
Yeah, there's a lot in this movie to unpack. And I wish sometimes that we were on a horror podcast to just spend like an hour and a half just unpacking all of this. But unfortunately, we're not. So we have tiptoed around it. Weapons is going to be different than you think. And I think it's like Barbarian, it is a slow burn build up to something really crazy by the end. And you've heard people talk about that catharsis and the payoff and all that. So go in just knowing that. And it's different than like just a straight up mystery. You know what's oddly like? I just got it. It's oddly like, is it safe to say it's kind of like Gone Girl, I think is a good comparison.
I would say it's kind of like Gone Girl. I think that's kind of a perfect description for it.
Yeah, just the pace of it, like how it goes from the beginning. Yeah.
Not just the pace, but also like the atmosphere, because this movie is very much like, as I'm simultaneously saying it's a comedy, it's also very much like it is a tragic story, and it's really weird to have all of these warring elements, but like it's losing 30 children in the middle of the night and the absolute terror. Like, one of the things that Julia Gardner's character, she was in Fantastic Four. She played the Silver Surfer. She was also in Ozark, and she's been in a lot of other she's having
a year. She's in Wolfman.
She's having a good year, but she is amazing in this movie. I would arguably say that she's better in this than Fantastic Four, and I loved her in Fantastic Four. But the very idea of getting into her shoes as a teacher who has lost all of her children sans one, and having to like look at, imagine like you may or may not have done anything wrong, and all of your kids are gone and everybody blames you for it. That's such a scary concept in and of itself.
Well, I mean, yeah, it was brilliant. It's cancel culture. That's what that was about. There's a lot of shades to things. Yeah, I don't want to get too deep in this because I feel like we're starting to dissect it too much. But like, there's a good. It puts you in a lot of different shoes. Is a way to kind of look at it, from the downtrodden to, like you said, the person who's been canceled, to like all these different things. But I don't want to get too deep into it because I feel like we're going to start exposing I don't want to say ourselves, Jesus. But we're going to start kind of spoiling things and stepping on things. Let's talk about a couple things on the pause. Let's talk about, did you watch King of the Hill or Wednesday, Evan?
I watched both. Well, I watched the first episode of Wednesday.
Okay, that's a good point. That's a great segue. I have too. Yeah. So let's get a Wednesday with everybody. Let's get everybody back in their hair and talk Wednesday. So from one creepy thing to another creepy thing. Wednesday is back. I'm done episode 1, and it's it's still very much Wednesday. It's still Tim Burton. It's still Wednesday. I'm after everything I saw, this was probably my least favorite this week. But then again, like I said, I've been sitting around watching Alien Earth and
a good week.
Weapons, and yeah, I've had a really good week. So, King of the Hill's back, which was more up my alley, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, this is still very much it, and it's right back in it, and right back in this world, and in the vein of the Addams Family, and Jenna Ortega is still killing it. And so I was like, it was pleasant. Like I was kind of smiling, and the humor and just kind of that dark humor of Wednesday Addams. You know, we've already talked about my childhood infatuation with Wednesday. So this is still that character, but yeah,
So you
bigger
guys-
production budget and
So you
more
guys are on
Catherine Zeta-Jones.
episode 1. Okay, so you're on episode 1. I'm trying to think. I'm on episode 3. So I'm trying to.
I fell
make
asleep
sure-
last night and woke up in the middle of episode 3 and was very confused.
So so one of the things, and I think you touched on it, is that this season feels already, even after just episode 1, but especially after episode 2, like they really kind of go out of their way to bring in more of the family dynamic that we didn't really actually get a lot of in season 1. Like there's a lot of guest appearances.
This is post-COVID, remember?
Yeah,
that
exactly,
first season
right?
is
Yeah.
still like a
So,
COVID
like,
show, yeah.
And this one automatically, I mean, they between moving, you know, there's a whole thing in the first episode, but especially in episode 2, where kind of proximity becomes less of an issue because Morticia is kind of regularly around. And so you have that. Then you also have more interactions with Gomez. Lurch is now part of the show, which is cool. You know, and the thing is though, also Pugsley plays a much more integral role as things move on. So that automatically kind of sets it apart, kind of freshens things up a bit. But then like the core of the show is still Wednesday and Enid and Wednesday and Thing. Like those two relationships throughout are like the core of the show. And I love what they do in this season with that trio. There's so many great Thing moments. There's one especially where like, and it becomes like a running thing throughout the episodes where like, I don't want to spoil it, but like Thing, there's a cool thing that Enid does for Thing. And so that becomes like a running deal throughout the rest of the show, at least up until I haven't reached episode 4, right? But it's just like this so fun. I just love their little relationship and how actually like Enid and Thing and their kind of growing friendship actually helps Wednesday see Thing differently. And like Thing has a whole arc. There's a whole story arc for Thing because he has conversations with everybody, and there's things that get revealed about like his dynamic within the family and like how people see him. Awesome stuff. And that's like a supporting character who is legit a hand. So like I just think they do so many cool things. There's an awesome if you're a Tim Burton fan, there's a sequence that I think you will absolutely love. That's a really cool homage to that. I think Steve Buscemi adds so much in his new role as the headmaster, because obviously we know what happened in the first season with the old headmaster. So this show is awesome. I wanted to keep watching, and I was just like, I gotta go to bed. It was literally the only reason I didn't just keep on going throughout the entire thing. I am super curious as we get to the 4th episode, and like I forget when chapter 2 hits. It's like a month, right? Isn't it like a month
later this
break?
month? I think.
Is it later this month? That'd be awesome. If it's later this month,
It's September 3rd.
September
3rd. Yeah.
So like that 4 episode we were just talking about earlier, right? 4 episodes might be kind of the sweet spot of like if you're gonna do these kind of part 1, part 2s. We'll see how that goes. But so far, I really dig it. I was a huge fan of the first season. It snuck up on me completely. I did not see myself being a huge mark for Wednesday when it first hit, and I was just taken aback and so pleasantly surprised. So I'm digging this a lot.
Janelle, what'd you think?
Yeah, it took me, I had to get through the whole first episode to really get back into it. I kind of couldn't remember where we picked up, and I just don't understand why we didn't release this closer to Halloween. It would have just been so fun for the spooky season. I'm still like in summer mode, so I'm still like Team Love Island currently. But like obviously completely different things. I'm just joking, but it's great. It's still such a good show, but gosh, if I didn't have this podcast that I needed to like watch content for, I would have probably saved this for spooky season myself, just to get in the spirit of things, because
You know what?
I don't
That
like
part.
horror, but yeah.
That part. I didn't even think about that, but you're right. I think like they did kind of, I think they're trying to clear the way for whatchamacallit? Stranger Things. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to clear the board for that. But like I would have, I
both.
mean, at least in fall, like we could have gotten this
Yeah.
like mid-September.
Yeah.
But I think they're really trying to clear space for Stranger Things to have its run. But I'm with you on that. Anybody else any strong feelings, or can we talk about my show?
I'll add something. I'll add something really quick. I wanted to also extrapolate on what Matt said regarding there is a very Tim Burton-esque part of the first episode that I absolutely loved, and I was almost like, man, I wish the entire series looked like this. Like it would be really hard to do, but like it's a stop motion animation thing. It's kind of like what is that thing called, Frankenweenie or whatever?
Yeah,
like,
dude, we just Ember's watching that. Next week, because she's like all on Nightmare Before Christmas mode.
Yeah, it's like Nightmare Before Christmas, Corpse Bride, all those various things. I will say that like I do like, much like everybody else, like I was not expecting to like Wednesday initially with its first season, but I thought it just has a really unique voice, really cool aesthetic. I think Jenna Ortega is so good in the role. I think like without her, it wouldn't work nearly as well.
100%.
But she's so good as Wednesday Addams. It was really interesting, Kofi, when you said that like the family wasn't originally introduced because of COVID or post-COVID. I was kind of like, oh, that's why. Because I thought like when I was watching that first episode of season 2, I was like, oh, they must have had a focus group where everybody was like, oh, we need more of the Addams family. We have to put more of them in. Because like all of them are like, they have a much bigger role. At least I would imagine. I only watched the first episode, but all of them are being set up to have a much bigger role this time around.
For sure.
But again, like I really do dig this series. It's good fun. In a week of like weapons and King of the Hill and Alien Earth, it's a little tough in terms of the competition, but it's still like a fun series. It's a good time. I've enjoyed what I've seen so far, and I'll be watching the rest of it.
All right, let's talk about King of the Hill. That came back after a long hiatus. Famously, King of the Hill has some infamy on this podcast because these two, again, I can't even remember their word right now. So you guys didn't have any love for King of the Hill. I once went on a whole long detour tirade twice. It actually happened twice on this podcast.
Back-to-back shows, I think.
Yeah, or no, it wasn't back to back. They weren't.
I think it was.
It was spread apart by like years because I started telling the same story. Then I was like, wait a minute, I feel like I've done this before on this podcast, and you two were just sitting there like, yeah. It
was like a Netflix part 1 and part 2 for Kofi.
Yeah. Oh my god. Anyway, so these two didn't watch King of the Hill. They never got into it, which I thought was crazy. I thought both of them would be like on that, but it's back now. And I have to say, this feels very much King of the Hill has done it right to come back. It feels very much like a season 14 or whatever it is, season 7, 14, whatever, I don't know. But it just goes right back into it. They have like a little story about why they haven't been here, and they actually make it a funny story about Hank Hill going to Saudi Arabia to help with like propane and gas. And then they come back and everything's, of course, now different in America. And it's about them trying to readjust and come back, which is like, so meta on so many levels. But King of the Hill is doing it right. I've watched, it's actually the thing I keep now just press and play on. I think I'm about 5 episodes in because it's still very animation domination, 90s, 2000s sitcom, but they're tackling new age stuff. And Mike Judge has just got that. I don't know what it is with that guy, but he's just got that perfect kind of like down home, simple view of things, even in the most complex situations. And it's usually like a humane, sane, kind of rational, common sense thing that we can all agree on, right? And so I mean, there's one episode that is Bill going to a black barber shop across town because he's depressed, and then making up this entire fake life story for himself using Hank's life. And Hank finds out, and it's about how do they deal with this now, because they don't want like Bill to have a breakdown, but like it's also crazy what he's doing in this black barbershop. And there's in this episode, I was like watching, I was like, this could go so wrong at any moment, like right. But Mike Judge is just perfect about like putting it down the middle, and like the amount of times these people say black barbershop, and like Peggy's like, well, I could go to the black barbershop, and they're like, like yeah, and it's just like perfect, but like never mean, never punching down, just like trying to bring us all back to a little bit of just like middle of the road common sense, which is what Hank Hill is. If you've never kind of figured that out, he's the common sense embodiment of America, like of all sides. And so he does it good. And they do some pretty crazy things. There's E&M stuff. There's like, yeah, it's hilarious. Bobby Hill, Pamela Aldone is still great as Bobby Hill and him running a restaurant. They've evolved the characters. It's like watching Boruto or something. Like they evolve all the characters, and but the humor is still the same, you know? And I'm really enjoying it, and I'm glad it's back. How about you?
I will say, number one, yes, I love King of the Hill. I will join you on that, Kofi. I'm a big Hank Hill fan. I think that but I also understand where Matt and Janelle are coming from, because it has a very like King of the Hill has always had a very dry sense of humor. Like it's very like it's very like subtle, and I can totally see, because it took me a while to warm up to it. And like I did not watch it originally when it came out, because I was like way more into The Simpsons, Family Guy, Futurama, even Bob's Burgers and stuff. But like King of the Hill in general, the way that they brought it back, because I've been sitting, me and my coworker in the anime team, Nick Valdez, we had watched it. We were sent screeners like a month ago, so we were just watching it. We watched it like twice this new season. And there are so many scenes that just work so perfectly in terms of like an encapsulation of our modern era through the eyes of Hank and his friends and everything. You know, Kofi mentioned the barber shop and everything, which is a fantastic episode, because I will say till the day I die that like I am still hoping for Bill to get his perfect ending, because he's so like the most tragic character in animation history. I feel so bad for him all the time. But he has some wins in this. I think like he does really great. The way that they play up the whole Saudi Arabia like angle works so well in terms of like where Hank and Peggy were, how they come back. Bobby being 21 years old, that was something that was always going to be like, how is this going to work? But it works really well in terms of he's still that same character. He's just older, but he has like this confidence to himself. Like he's really figured himself out as an adult, which works really well, because there's so many other characters that are just a complete mess. And I think that like Mike Judge in general, and I said this as well with like the revival of Beavis and Butthead, which is also shockingly made by the same person who made King of the Hill, because they're so different. But that revival still works really well in terms of bringing back these classic characters while adding new elements into them that work like really well for a new generation kind of. And so like King of the Hill, the 14th season works really well for those who are fans of the original series. And I would say like people can just jump onto it if they've never seen the original episodes. It still works really well. So I still had a blast with it. It's one of those shows that you can kind of keep running in the background if you want. I know I have so many friends who just are such big King of the Hill fans that just constantly have this series playing all the time. And this new revival works. You can easily throw it into the rotation.
Matt and Janelle, did we make any converts of you?
Probably not.
You know, I am going to watch it just because I am
some haters,
curious.
man. It's all about propane and propane excessive.
I get enough of that accent around town.
Anybody, real quick, because I want to get to comics and kind of move us on. But South Park's also back. They're coming back firing on all cylinders, quite literally. Even crypto's catching strays out here.
South Park is great. South Park is just fantastic.
Yeah.
That was something.
Hey,
That
hey,
cameo.
shout out to Paramount. It's my birthday tomorrow, and they finished their deal with Skydance. Shout out to Karen. You did it, Karen. You did it. I hope the checks are worth it. You signed them all.
So
Signed it off.
spicy.
One legal thing done. Boom, you got it. You know,
So spicy.
we making our mom take your pictures out of our house, but congratulations.
Oh, man.
You know,
Talk
Yeah,
about catching strays.
That's
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, the
There we
Outlaw
go.
Brothers had a meeting. Mama Outlaw's clearing those pictures out, but you did it. So congratulations. And that's a sub. That's a high level sub. You guys don't understand that. You guys are subbing on the internet. I'm subbing entire corporations and legal teams. Okay.
Happy
So
birthday. That's
all
happy
right.
birthday.
Happy birthday. All right. It's not my birthday anymore. Now it's Matt's baby's birthday. So happy birthday, Grayson. You know,
Happy
that's what
birthday.
we're gonna be saying. Happy
It's
birthday.
your
I'm gonna give up.
birthday.
We give up my birthday magic to having Grayson Aguilar kind of
Go, go.
have a good successful entry to Earth. So that's what I'm going to donate my birthday magic to this year to Matt. But all right, South Park's out there. We're not going to get into that. We are not politicalnation.com although or political nation, although I think could be more money in that if I jump in that pool. We'll have to see. All right, let's move on to comics. Things got bloody in comics this week. So if you were hoping for things to get better than the horror movies and stuff, too bad, because things got really bloody. I was traumatized 2 times. First time was in Absolute Superman number 10.
Woo.
I love the flip of mixing these worlds up a little bit and throwing some Batman mythos into Superman, and it is proving to work very well. Having the Al Ghul's be Superman foes first is highly interesting, but it works. And the angle that Roz would look at somebody like Superman and say, "Oh hell no, that's my guy," like, is something I don't think I've seen explored before, but makes all the sense in the world. I was kind of worrying that I was about to come on here and be like, Jason Aaron's going to need to get this thing into focus and kind of pull it together. But this issue, holy crap, we took some turns, and I can't believe they hid that twist right in front of me.
Yep.
See it.
Right there.
See it. It's like I was watching Weapons or something. All right.
So good. Such a good twist.
Janelle, while we have you, because I know we're getting into your danger zone, what'd you think about Absolute Superman number 10?
I mean, yes, I do feel like I was sort of falling off on this one. Not terribly. Like, I'm loving all of these, but I was leaning to be. This started off as my favorite of the books, and then slowly Wonder Woman was creeping in, and Batman, and I feel like this issue specifically brought me back. And I was now I don't know. Now I'm like really struggling with ranking these. It's going to be really hard because I love a full like package. I love it when they put a little bow on it and they do tie in things, and they were hiding it in plain sight, and that's just it. It's very well done. This guys, I met someone last night. This sounds so silly. I was out with my girlfriend, and is a guy that she was talking to. Anyways, he was a massive nerd, and this is my first time out in the world where I met someone who is also reading these. And I felt so cool that I was like, oh my gosh, you're reading these and you're reading the Ultimates, like with Marvel. And like we compared and discussed. And I know it's a little off topic, but just in general, it's so nice to be like up on all of these and to have such a positive opinion of everything I'm reading right now. And so,
gosh,
yeah, it was really cool. It was
You
out in the
had a
wild.
nerdy comic conversation out in
did.
the wild, and
I
that's
did.
amazing.
I was so
Yay.
excited. Yes, I made a nerd friend.
Hell yeah. That's fantastic. And
Yeah.
also, you're right, though. It helps when the books are good. Right.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
then it's not the whole conversation of, man, that sucks.
Yeah.
Remember 2003
Moving
or
on.
whatever. You go back to your whatever book resonated with you, right? Remember 1995?
Yeah.
Or it's nice to not have those conversations all the time. And it's
Yeah.
cool to geek out about something cool. Superman, this one, like Wonder Woman's still my favorite of all the Absolute books, but they're all great. So like this is just, we're talking dissecting things, but like they're all good. I really enjoy the Absolute line overall, but I will say Superman I agree with Kofi. Bringing in Roz shakes things up considerably, and you still have all like the stuff they're doing with the Peacemaker of it all. That moment was resonated with like to have this huge buildup, and then the way it happens, and like the way Brainiac is also figuring into this, you can see those pieces start to be placed right for maybe a future turn. There's so much. This is also taking a very wrestling this conversation is taking on a very wrestling vibe, but like I just love what they're doing this, but also the artwork has to be praised. Superman is actually not in this book for like the first 15 pages. He doesn't actually appear as a person, and you still understand how powerful this one person is. He's just like a giant force of destruction. It's just planes going all over the place. They do such a good job of maximizing that. Really good. Evan, did you get a chance to read these?
I didn't get the chance. I haven't been keeping up with all of the Absolute line, but I did want to say that, like, isn't it crazy that the Absolute and Ultimate lines are like the best thing that the two companies are creating like now at the same time? Like, you would think, like, it's super cool because I have been keeping up. I love Ultimate Spider-Man, as a big fan of the Spider-Man marriage and all that stuff. I've been loving the Ultimates. That's probably, of all of these books, I think the Ultimates is my favorite. But yeah, I love the stuff from what I've read of like Absolute Superman. I would also agree that like Absolute Wonder Woman has been my favorite. I think that the way that they do that with like Diana's backstory, it feels like it takes the biggest swings while staying truest to the character, which is like a really hard dynamic to like, that's like a tightrope walk that can be really difficult. But like, hearing about the stuff that they've put into Absolute Superman from you guys is like, wow, that is really cool. Like, I didn't realize that Ra's al Ghul was actually like because I remember like the interviews with Jason Aaron where he was talking about, I'm going to interject a villain that Superman has never really fought before, but that would make a lot of sense for him. And like, yeah, that would, the Al Ghul family would make sense in terms of this shining beacon of alienness that is Kal-El. So that's super interesting. That's gonna have me catch up with it.
So Kofi, you said it was heartbreaking. Both issues were heartbreaking for you, but was Ultimate Wolverine worse?
Oh yeah, and Ultimate Wolverine was pure nightmare fuel. That was insane. This like Ultimate Wolverine's so good and so dark. Like I have to see this adapted almost at some point. Like it's crazy how just kind of every time, going with something like weapons and this felt like Alien Earth. Like this felt like sci-fi horror. Like team goes on a mission, like mission goes really bad. And to see the flip in this issue, and spoilers, we're going to talk. I mean, it's on the cover, so like, let's just talk about it.
Yeah.
Just to see Angel and Warren Worthington, and to see, we've seen Warren flip out and become evil things. He's become Apocalypse before, so this is not a new concept. But way that it's done here, it's just so freaky and so scary, down to just like, the Hickman-esque like little email at the end, and you read about it and it still even gets more horrible. But just seeing like this book is crazy because it can take out nothing feels safe. Everybody feels like they could die at any minute, except for Logan, and him living might not be the greatest thing. So like, yeah, just seeing Brand and Beast there you go, Matt. I bet you were just like clapping. I bet you got up out of your seat like, yes, Beast catching a knife through the eye. But like, that was horrific. Like, I was up there with horrific things I've seen in comics that might stay with me forever. Like, yeah, Brand catching to the face.
R.I.P. Brand. One of my favorite characters.
Like, it was just nuts because they do that so brutally. She's like the leader. She's like, let's go. We're going. We're in. And then just shuck, done. And you're like, whoa.
By the way,
yeah.
Is there a more devastating sound effect from a comic that a comic can make than shuck? I don't think
no. That's why I said
that.
it.
I was thinking because I didn't know what the sound effect was that you were going to say, and that was the one that came into my brain.
Yep.
I mean, that's it. There's certain ones. There's that. Me and my wife always use the when we describe puking, we describe it as boac because that's like something that Garth Ennis likes to write that a lot. He writes that out. He like writes out word sounds for puke and things like that. And that, like you're like, ew. And it just like
rough.
stays with you.
Shuck is rough.
But,
Okay.
Shuck is nasty, yeah. But it's like, yeah, that's an Archangel. Whenever Archangel kills somebody, that's what it is. Just like shuck, 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 shuck. And like, yeah, it's a stabbing sound. But like, yeah, this was brutal. But it's just the art and how streamlined the storytelling is, while still offering you kind of like the voiceover, the stuff that deepens the story. It's just so well done. It's nuts.
Yes, Janelle, any thoughts on Ultimate Wolverine before we jump into other stuff?
It's just tragic. Like at the very end, when they're kind of recapping, there's like an email included that is basically saying like the Winter Soldier project, we lost it, and then we got this like way too quick of clearance into this. Is it Angels that we're talking about? Like we got this new clearance, and I'm bailing on it, and I will take whatever repercussions that involves, because I just, this is horrible what we're doing. I can't believe we replaced these feathers with like, you know, knives. And
it's such a great email, such a snarky employee email. He's like, oh yeah, that was a great idea.
Yeah,
he's like, yeah, let's just take those harmless feathers and give him knives.
But he also like
we're just setting ourselves up to be killed.
And yeah, and he's like, the patient is screaming in agony and and I'm just like, oh my god, like it's like you can like feel this poor dude has been like just ripped apart and is so messed up. And I'm like, gosh, just that like moment, just that email thing was so impactful. So yeah, I mean, it's brutal. This one's brutal. Great though. I think I missed one where like Logan.
Oh yeah, we skipped like 2, I think.
I was like, oh, so like I guess he's not bad anymore.
The last time we read it, he had just been captured.
Yes.
So like I had to go and fill in. Like I've been
to
keeping up with it, but I missed an issue. So like, But
no,
the last time we talked about it on the show, he was still brainwashed.
Yeah.
And then here it's like, he's not brainwashed anymore. And I was like,
he just really came around.
It's good stuff. Yeah. All right. Awesome. Well, I am going to, if that's okay, Kofi, unless there's anything else you wanted to jump into.
No.
Before we head out here, Janelle, do you need to
I'm going to run away, but I'm listening and loving.
Wonderful.
Go Tony Storm.
So okay, number 1, she named a wrestler. I'm so proud.
I love her. That's not WWE. I know that, but
I know, but Timeless Tony Storm's amazing. AEW is great.
Awesome.
So yes,
Okay,
but before I jump into wrestling, though, I do want to shout out. So the thing I was at was GenCon. I was in the essentially the biggest stateside convention for board gaming, tabletop, and everything like that. And so I'll be talking about that a lot. There's more and more things that I'll get a chance to experience and things over the next few weeks from GenCon. But I did want to highlight just a few things. One of the coolest things we got to do was we actually got to play. So Hero Quest from Avalon Hill has a new expansion, which is called Crypt of Perpetual Darkness. And one of the cool things is that it's designed by, I hope we could say, friend of the show, because we've had a chance to interview him here, Joe Manganiello. Deathstroke, if you want to watch an awesome interview, go back and watch that interview that we did here on ComicBook Nation. So he helped design this. He designed this whole expansion, which is cool in and of itself. But then we actually got to play this game while he DM'd. So he ran the campaign while we did. That's my little dwarf right there, jumping on the table. I think that's an illegal rule, but it doesn't matter. He let me do it. And it was awesome. We got to actually play the game with him. He ran everything. You had 4 new players jumping into this game, and within the hour, we were all taking turns, rolling dice, working with each other. It was awesome. It was a super cool experience, and thank you to Avalon Hill for making it happen. Yeah, buddy. And Bubbles was there. Look at that. The dog was there. It's amazing. He was there, by the way, the entire time. It was awesome. So that was really cool. And we'll be having more coverage of this expansion coming out of this, but definitely wanted to highlight that was one of the cool moments of Gen Con, and I really enjoyed this expansion too. Hero Quest, for those, it's super fun to play, super approachable, and you end up getting into it. It's kind of like one of the things of like, if you want D&D or if you want role-playing games, but you want some of the things kind of handled by the game more, this is a perfect way to approach it. Also, Upper Deck has a brand new, they've been working with the DC license quite a bit. We've got some awesome trading cards and things like that, but they will be releasing their first game. I'm thinking it's probably going to end up like either late this year or early next year. But it is called Batman Enemies of Gotham. Now, this is a full-on Batman the Animated Series style game. So they just announced it, but we actually got to take a look at everything and how it works. One of the cool things about this is that they went for the full animated Batman animated series art style. And when you actually see some of the like pictures and see some of the images of the artwork, you'll probably think it's actually taken directly from the show, and it's not. They actually had an artist come in, and like the artist does such a good job of recreating that look that he went ahead and just like recreated everything, and it's awesome. They look straight like pulled from the cartoon, and you'll be playing as the villains, which is awesome. So you're going to have like up to, I think the full list was like 12. I think there's like 12 villains in the game. And we've got like big pools, obviously, like Joker, Penguin, right, Mr. Freeze. But then we have some like really fun pools. We have Mad Hatter's in here as a controllable villain, Bane, obviously, and Batman will play a role in it, but you're actually going to be like having to deal with him along the fly. You're trying to take kind of control of certain areas of Gotham, make money. Like Penguin's whole thing is just like raking in ridiculous amounts of money throughout the game. So they really themed it. There's a full like Batman dice tower. It's like a full Gotham recreated dice tower that it is in super prototyping mode now. But they will kind of have this really cool version. And it's even got like Batman symbols on the inside. They went kind of the extra mile with theming here. And so it looks really cool. I'll have a more in-depth breakdown of the game and everything coming up on Comic Book, but I definitely wanted to give it some shout out because the artwork is phenomenal. Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn, all of those people are in here. The other one I wanted to shout out was Doom. Modifius is doing a Doom arena board game, but they're also doing one that's based on Dark Ages. They both use the same system, but they actually are remarkably different because if you've played Dark Ages and you've played the original Doom, you know that while the kind of core mechanics are the same, there's a difference in approach, and one has you wielding a shield and things like that, while the other one is just full run and gun. This was like all the theming and everything is super on point. And then if you do Dark Ages, like the theming changes, the approach changes, some of the abilities change. It's just like run and gun and super approachable, and they really kind of nailed the Doom aesthetic and overall feel. So I'm super pumped for this. I played a demo. I'm hoping to play more soon, but like just from my hands-on experience for about half an hour, this was super fun. You're going to want to watch for this. Riftbound is the first League of Legends trading card game. Now, right now, I am in like trading card game nirvana, okay, between Lorcana, Star Wars Unlimited, oh my gosh, Neopets, Rise of Icor, and then at GenCon, there's a new Cookie Rush trading card game that I actually have here that I'm going to play, but I haven't actually had a chance to dive into it yet. But then we have Riftbound. Also, Universes has a new Turtles game coming. That looks amazing. So Riftbound, though, is League of Legends' new jump into this. And number one, they've teamed up with Universes to kind of help with the system. I got some hands-on with it. They change up enough of the kind of feel from turn to turn that it really feels like it feels unique. The battles are over bases, but like the way abilities work and the way like you have to dedicate resources again feels unique. And I play a lot of TCGs, so I really dug this. At the end of our demo, I was like, hey, I want to play. I would play like 3 or 4 more rounds. I've actually got 2 decks here from the show that I'm excited to dive into because I haven't had a chance to dive into either of these yet because I took the Jinx deck at the demo and I was very excited for that. Also, they look beautiful. Cards look gorgeous. They actually were showing off some of the foils and things in the glass case, and those looked excellent. Condiment King is not in the game, and he should absolutely be in an expansion because my gosh, how you not have Condiment King in there? And then just a couple of quick mentions. By the way, Rich, do you have the shot of the games that I'm working through for GenCon? He popped that up. This is what my table looks like. I don't know if he can pop that up there while I'm talking. But a couple other things I wanted to mention. Star Wars Battle of Hoth is a really cool 1v1 game. Kind of the whole thing is based on that one sequence that one time in the movies. It looks fantastic. I actually have it here. I'm gonna jump into that soon. They announced a new Hellboy Unmatched game is coming, which is huge. The Witcher Unmatched series are great. They just did a Turtles one, but now we're gonna have Hellboy join that. We don't know much else like about who's involved and things like that, but like that's gonna be super fun. Cookie Rush, I mentioned a lot of awesome games. I also played a lot of digital adaptations of games, including Nature, which was phenomenal. Frosthaven was really fun. So we got a lot of stuff happening on the digital front as well. All this stuff. There it is. Look at that. Look at that mountain. Oh, yes. And Gwent. Gwent is happening. I'm very excited for that because that takes the Witcher card game and moves that in. Gloomies, Hello Kitty. Yeah. There's Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is in there. The Sims, lots of fun stuff. D&D Horrified as well. So yeah, lots of cool things coming on the board game tabletop side of things. But I am that's my table right now. Not right now because my cat's on it, but he's not in this picture. But yeah, very excited. Lots of cool stuff coming to the site over the next few weeks. Even though I'm out, you'll still see stuff from me. So that is me. Real quick on wrestling. If you're not watching WWE Unreal, I would actually like to have a full conversation about like if everyone ends up watching that at some point over the next few weeks. That'd be really interesting because it really kind of breaks that whole kayfabe. Kayfabe was barely around anyway, but like now it really kind of like, hey, here's how we put all that together, and here's all the conversations that led to that. That's a really interesting conversation. Also, let's just acknowledge that John Cena was a heel that went terribly because The Rock and Travis Scott kind of mangled that whole thing. Then he went in a promo and said he threw them under the bus and said, "Yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm just going to be me." And then they went out and had a match of the year candidate with Cody Rhodes. I thought, look, you got to give Cena credit. Like, dude can pull off Peacemaker and also completely turn. I mean, that's a 360-degree turn, and he did it in a week. No, 3 days. He did it 3 days. Immense.
I'd love to ask you, Matt. Was that main event WrestleMania the worst one of all time?
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah, it's trash.
It's
so bad. I don't like to use trash very often, right? But that's not good. It was not good. And to be it wouldn't have been good on a SmackDown. Nonetheless, a WrestleMania. Okay, so that was to go from that to the one we got here, which Cena looked like he was 15 years younger and doing stuff. Amazing. So all the credit in the world to John Cena for that, but also Cody. Great ending. Brock Lesnar coming back is interesting. That's interesting. And that's a whole episode worth of getting into that. But very interesting. So that's me. That's my agenda this week.
Yeah, is anybody still buying Cena as a heel? Like, who's still buying it?
Cena didn't even buy it.
Twitter follows everybody. That's not heel behavior.
And it's now in the back. He's now in the rear view. Yeah. He can be a face for the rest of his farewell tour, and he's good.
Yeah, just keep him as a baby face. He's fine. He can be, Cena plays, but I feel like Cena always plays like the anti-hero baby face. He's like baby face with a little edge to him,
Right, for sure.
Yeah, he's gonna heroically put you through a ladder. All right. So is that it?
Yep, that's it. That's
all right.
I'm done.
That's Matt's agenda. That is Matt's last time as a happy person before 2 children. I'm just kidding. Congratulations to you, buddy. We're gonna miss you. But we want you and the family to really gel and have a good time. So enjoy some stuff. Come talk with us when you can. That'll do it for this episode of Comic Book Nation. Thank you, Evan, for hopping on and helping us out today. And we'll see you in the coming weeks as well. If you are just getting into the show, make sure you subscribe. We have 7 seasons. And I was just doing a check, and we got our stuff in order. We have them organized by season on your podcast feeds. So go back and listen to all 7 years of this podcast and everything we've talked about, because, you know, it's funny. We've gotten to the point now where we're starting to become a snake eating its own tail. We're going to having conversations about the things we had conversations, things we talk about are rebooted or sequeled, or, you know, it's getting crazy. So we're coming full circle on a number of things. And yeah, go back and check all of that out. As well, go check out our Comic Book and Comic Book Nation YouTube pages, where we have all kinds of crazy stuff, from interviews with everybody in the industry to all kinds of fun promo videos to all the weird stuff Matt collects from wrestlers to, you know, animation studios to all his agenda stuff we dump on there. So go check all of that out. Thank you guys in the chat for joining us. We love our live chat. Make sure you don't just listen, join us on the chat, because we have a whole Comic Book Nation. That's why we titled this show that, you know, Comic Book Nation, because our live chat and community is the best. So join in there as well. All right, we out of here. This is Comic Book Nation. Peace.